What's going on, guys? Michigander Man Rob here, and today I'm in Jenison, Michigan, and we are looking at the Tiffany house. It's considered the Jenison Museum. It says the Jenison is named for a pioneer family of English descent. Lemuel Jenison, son of a Revolutionary War soldier, came to the Grand River Valley from New York in 1835 with his family. Among the 7 children born to Lemuel and his wife, Sarah, were 4 daughters and 3 sons, Hiram and twins Lumen and Lucius. Lemuel died in 1837. The care and support of the family fell on the eldest son, then 24, and the twins who were 14. Sarah died in 1841. The Jensen Brothers, initially lumbermen, later branched out in other ventures. They donated land for roads, schools, and churches. Hiram, who served as the first Georgetown Township supervisor, died in 1889. Lucius and Lumen, who were business partners, both died in 1899, and much of their estate was left to Margaret's husband, who built this very house. Let's go inside and check this place out, guys.
The interurban that went right down the street here, and the interurban was owned by the son-in-law of Margaret, who built the house. There were about 5 homes in this area that actually had electricity back then. The picture above the mantle is of the twins, Lucius and Lumen Jenison. They were the younger of the 3 boys of the Jennisons that came here in 1835. The twins actually never married, and they left their inheritance, or left the money, to Margaret, who was their housekeeper and bookkeeper for the Jenison mill and the Jenison stores. And with that money, she built this house for about $13,000 back then, which was a lot of money. Wow. This house was built in the style of a Victorian. Thus, we have the turret, this round circular area, which you're going to see on all 3 levels. So if you have any questions as we go through, I'd be happy to answer them. This is my normal floor to give tours on. So I'm used to getting second floor. Front parlor was actually only used for company. It was a place where they did their entertaining, and so we have the piano and the organ and some musical instruments. Also, the Victrola, an early Victrola, which is in working order, but I'm not comfortable enough with using that. But they had the cylinders.
Oh, that's cool.
And that still does play. Several pictures are original to the house. Let me just look at them a minute here. This one and I think the one over the organ are, and they were donated by the Tiffany family. The Tiffany's were the last ones to own the house before the highway department bought out these homes for the highway. And so that's why it's been known as the Tiffany house, or Save the Tiffany house. It was used then by the family for living their living room purposes. You can see over here on the bookcase this egg and dart molding up closer. The picture above there is of President Garfield, and President Garfield actually had a brother, Tom, that lived out in Jamestown. So he did visit this area.
Wow. That's something I would not have known. Now, he was telling me that the original mill is right where the McDonald's was, or is?
Yeah, in that area where the light is.
Is there still is there remnants of the mill still there?
No.
None, nothing.
Yeah, this was the Jenison mill. There are also in the other corner there, downtown Jenison. I'm sure it shows some of the mill pictures in here too. A little more light over here. The mill was taken down in 1963. Just before that, it was Mrs. Tiffany had an antique shop within the mill. So I kind of remember that. It's a little early in my time period, but I was, just coming into my teenage years about that time.
Can you look at this? What? Can you look at this? Yes,
We're featuring women. Actually, this Elizabeth Hatchett was called Brownie, and she was the daughter, granddaughter of the lady that built the house.
Oh, okay.
Her father was Ben Hatchett, who owned the interurban. He was kind of the mistress of the house needed to signal the maid or the housekeeper she could
So they could signal.
touch that little bell on
That's pretty neat.
Bring in the next meal. And you notice there's no knobs for turning on and off. It's all manual. But if you wanted it louder, you just open this up,
Oh, wow.
and that's your wood bellows or whatever they call them. Then that would refract the sound. I tell the kids this is my CD player. Of course, now records are coming back into
Yeah.
More popular than
popularity,
CDs, probably.
so they know what that is. Between the Jenison General Store and the Older Brothers store, which was right across the street, depending on who was president, Republican, Democrat, or whatever parties they had back then, because the postmaster would change, and so then that would determine where the post office was. If you went to Jenison schools, this closet is just full of a lot of Jenison school paraphernalia, their yearbooks and that kind of stuff. The mural here was painted by Ken Williams. He's the one that was out on the porch.
That's neat.
He's our historian curator, and has been involved in the Historical Association here at Jenison basically since it started. He was a teacher over at Pinewood. But anyway, this scene depicts what Jenison looked like back in about 1910 out of these windows. So this house was built at that time. So looking out these bay windows, you're overlooking a couple of the houses. You notice there's no Chicago Drive. Chicago Drive was actually built basically over the tracks of the interurban, and the interurban actually came out of Grand Rapids, came down Granville Avenue to Lee Street, took Lee Street into Granville, and then went to about 30th, and 30th back into Granville, and then came this way. It turned the corner right out here at Port Sheldon and kind of followed Port Sheldon down across by the golf course down.
Because coming up to the second floor just down below us here, it sticks out in the hallway, and if we went straight from the center of the roof, that's what they had to do, because they wanted to look nice, so they went in the center of the roof. They would have went straight down, it would have came up too far into the hallway. So that is made that way. It's it's over 115 years old. So here we have an ox yoke, some of the stuff that was used in the old timers. I got a horse harness there that I haven't put up yet, but I'm working on getting parts and make sure we have all the parts for that. But we have an ox yoke here. Up here in pieces for 20 years. Finally, somebody from the from the Hudsonville Museum said I can make that run for you, and so she did. She set it up for us.
Wow.
These rugs here on the floor were made here on this loom. Not the one you're standing on there, but these were made here on this loom.
That's something.
This is what when the kids come, I say this is basically the first form of recycling.
Right.
They take old clothes and old cloth that they couldn't use for anything else, and cut it into strips and make a rug. And this was the ferry or barge that went across it, whatever you want to call it. That's the only way people from the Standell area could get across over here before the bridge there by Johnson Park was built in 1932. It was part of the Franklin Roosevelt's WPA program. So you're looking up here. This is part of the original wiring from 1898. We had to get a variance from the township so we could operate that. We have 3 lights. That one, and the one down there are all off an original, they call it knob and tube. And because Mr. Hanchett owned the railroad and he had electricity, they made the electricity just down the road. Okay, McKenna, you want to take over down there for those kids? You can handle it pretty good. And then here we got a bunch of tools that we, mostly from the farming era.
That's pretty cool.
What are we looking at? This big thing right here? You are exactly correct. Do you want to go?
Debbie, want her to use it?
You want to go? All right. Let me push the button. There. Now, when you go inside, and it came right through Jenison at the end of Port Sheldon. So that depot, it says Jenison on it, was there right in the middle of Chicago Drive. And it turned the corner and it went south along Port Sheldon. And people all asked me, well, where exactly was it? So I went to Google Maps and they answered the question, because you can still see the scar of the interurban line through Jenison. So here's Port Sheldon. This is the golf club. What is that called? Sunnybrook. And this is Andres Curve and Andres Crossing, which is where the interurban went over Port Sheldon. Their family genealogy book actually says Andres Crossing. But it went right out through over to Jamestown and then down to 84th and then a straight shot west in Zeeland and from Zeeland to Holland. But it didn't stop there. They also built interurban out to the end of Black Lake, today is known as Macatawa.
Okay.
And Ben, who was the, how would you say, nephew to Lucius and Lumen, built an amusement park out there because Lucius and Lumen, when they died, left everything to the lady who built this house and her daughter, and Ben was married to that daughter. And so he built an amusement park. They had a roller coaster,
Okay.
one of the best in West Michigan, if not the only for a time. And thousands of people went out to that park, but they didn't go for the reasons we go to the park. They went for family picnics, company picnics.
Believe it or not, guys, this is called a stump fence. And this is all trees put together to make a fence. And they call this a stump fence, and it's original. Right here, guys, is the Jenison family mausoleum. This is where the Jenison family is all buried at in Jenison, Michigan. Between these regular houses and the road here, this was all their land. But this is where they are buried at. That's their mausoleum right here. You're not able to go in there because this is still owned by the Jensen family. It's kind of a wet day. This is still all owned by the Jennisons. This one right here is Douglas C. Jensen. He was in the U.S. Army, World War II, August 1922, and died in September 9th, 2002. Some of these I can't get close enough to read. Some of these look very old. Definitely a lot of history right here. Right here, guys, we have Hiram Jenison's house. It's still mostly original, but they told me they added a garage and a few other things to it. But this house is well over 100 some years old, and this is Hiram Jenison's house, family home in Jenison, Michigan. If you guys enjoyed this little piece of history in Jenison, Michigan, I would like to also say that in a few weeks, guys, I would like to know if there would be anybody interested in going with me and checking out Hell's Bridge in Rockford, Michigan. I just want to make that announcement. I plan on checking the bridge out, but I'd like to have a little group to go, a few people if it's possible. So if anybody's interested in going to check out Hell's Bridge with me in Rockford, let me know. Once the weather gets decent, maybe a few weeks, I want to see who would like to go and do that with me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button, guys, and I will definitely see you guys in my next one. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching.